Hi, and welcome to the episode 3 of the MRC podcast of Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow. Our featured guest today is Mr. Biswajeet Banerjee, who is a very senior journalist, and currently he's working for the Associated Press. He's also contributing for Money Control, for Free Press Journal and Lokmat Times. So thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation, and welcome to this podcast.
Thank you, Abaji. Honor is mine. Thanks for inviting me here.
So, first question of mine is we'd just like to have a brief introduction of yours, especially in the professional context. If you could walk us through your professional journey, how did it start and till today's?
This is very interesting, Abaji. I never wanted to be a journalist. In fact, my father was a doctor. He was posted in Himachal Pradesh. I always wanted to be a doctor, follow my father's footsteps. As hota hai generally parivar mein ke father is a person, so a son wants to do that. But I was a voracious reader. I used to read anything and everything I can lay my hands on. I'm born and brought up in Himachal, I told you. हिमाचल में अखबार आता था ट्रिब्यून, द ट्रिब्यून. तो वो अखबार मैं बड़ा सीरियसली पढ़ता था एंड यूज्ड टू रीड द स्पोर्ट्स पेज very eagerly and very sincerely. After doing my graduation, post-graduation, situation happened like I couldn't make it to medicine. I was sitting in my hostel room there. I saw an ad in Indian Express, wanted journalists.
So I wanted. When you were doing all this, you were in Lucknow at this?
No, I was in Shimla.
You were in Shimla.
I was in Shimla. UP में तो हम नौकरी करने आए हैं. I'm born and brought up in Himachal Pradesh. So वहाँ मैंने एक ad देखा कि wanted a journalist. And at that time, it was not mandatory like today. I'm talking about 30 years back, 35 years back. Like today, it is very mandatory to have a diploma or degree in journalism. At that time, it was not there.
So I saw it only the flair for writing?
Yeah, they used to take a test, writing test. Right. They used to invite you, you have to appear in a test. यदि आप test clear कर गए, तो आपको फिर नौकरी.
And at that time, I'm sure the test would also be difficult क्योंकि आजकल तो we have this chat GPT and also many AI tools.
आजकल तो situation ही अलग है और लिखने का तो उतना वो रहा भी नहीं. But at that time, writing skill was judged. And because I was a voracious reader and used to read newspapers very sincerely, so at that time, I never knew how to write a news report. But I used to read newspapers, so वो back of the mind मेरे था कि कैसे लिखा जाता है. So whatever I wrote, maybe that was in the pattern of a newspaper writing and I was picked up. So from there my journey started. I started with Pioneer. Then I joined Times of India, I joined Tribune, the Tribune in Himachal Pradesh, in Chandigarh, Punjab का बहुत बड़ा अखबार है. Then I joined PTI, then I came back to Pioneer, I climbed the stairs, I started on a desk. I mean, just to tell viewers that, in journalism is two sections. One is desk, one is reporting. Desk is the person who sits in an office and he, processes the things, who edits the thing, he edits the reports given by the reporter.
Just like we have in the television input and
Absolutely correct you are. So वहाँ पर I started my career with a desk and then suddenly I used to love writing. So I used to contribute for newspaper writing articles and this and that. Then my editor said कि reporter बनेगा. I said हाँ बनूंगा. So my reporter's journey started. I became a reporter. Then I climbed the stairs. I was chief reporter, and in Pioneer I became the political editor. Then I left. And in the meantime, I started writing for Associated Press. Associated Press is world's largest news agency. And I'm still writing for them. I cover Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand for them. And then
And is there any specific area or subject that you write about, or it's like subjects in general? You cover up everything because we were just discussing that your interest is majorly about society, societal and developmental concerns. Yeah. So, is
when you write for a newspaper, you are given a beat. Like in a policing case, एक beat दे दिया जाता है कि आपको इस मोहल्ले में घूमना है. Just in journalism also, you're given a beat. Beat like to a layman, I can tell. Not specialized. I mean, you will cover say health, you will cover policy, you will cover politics, you will cover education. You will, so that way that reporter is responsible for whatever is happening in his area. Say education में जो भी हो रहा है तो उसके लिए जो हुआ, the education reporter is responsible. He will cover that. I started with education and medical, and then gradually came into political reporting. Yes, you were right. I was telling you that I maybe last assignment with Pioneer was political editor, but I loved development in social reporting. Development in social reporting, like talking about poor, talking about hunger, talking about people's pain, talking about beggars, talking about, and these things took me to various places. Various places means I got around 7-8 fellowships, and I got only on those subjects which were not politics, but away from politics. I wrote on like
I'll ask you about those fellowships also, but just question that just came to my mind is generally people are not receptive if you talk about the media industry as a whole, talking about societal concerns and developmental concerns, because the biggest question is who's going to receive that information. Do we have readers for that? Are we free enough to write about such issues? So what was your experience with regards to writing about such issues?
Avaji, I'm sorry to tell you that you are wrong. Maximum concern of a reader is about people's pain.
No. My concern is about the industry. How receptive is the industry?
They are. In prominent newspapers, you have different pages, like development pages, health pages. You have social pages. In websites, because आज का ज़माना website का ज़माना है. In websites, you have different categories. Development categories, social categories, where you can, write these things. And these things are, these type of stories are acceptable. They are readable, more readable than political stories, and they can take you to miles. Because different organizations are working on this. When I say organizations, say different NGOs I can talk to you about. Then the NGOs pick up those stories. Or NGOs can feed you. Like I give you an example, because although you said that you will ask me later, जब कोविड हुआ था, कोविड के बाद जो मजदूर लोग थे वो वापस आए अपने जहाँ पे भी काम करते, सूरत, मुंबई, चेन्नई, तमिलनाडु से अपने अपने गांव यूपी में वापस आए. I was in touch with the NGO. NGO told me कि यहाँ पर कुछ महिलाएं सूरत से वापस आई हैं. They were working in a textile factory, in a garment factory, and उनका काम वहाँ पर था. They used to sift the cotton from good cotton and bad cotton. जो अच्छा cotton था जो कि सड़ गल के कागज बन सकता, उसको वो आइडेंटिफाई करके वो बीनते थे और करते थे. तो I said then, and he said कि अब वो वापस नहीं जा रही हैं. Because after first phase, if you remember COVID के बाद जब थोड़ा सा improve हुआ situation, तो people started going back to their place of work, or even the industry started calling them back, आ जाओ काम शुरू हो गया है. But these girls are not going, these ladies are not going. So they have started working here, और इन्होंने यहाँ पर खेती बाड़ी अपने पे करना शुरू किया. मैंने कहा व्हाट्स द बिग डील, महिलाएं तो करती हैं. कहते नहीं, आप समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं. यहाँ पर अमूमन जो जमींदार होता है वो अपना काम जो होता है, जो एक्स्ट्रा जमीन होती है, वो he gives to male laborers, male farmers, not to female farmers. This is a rare thing that female farmers, they've entered into a contract with that zamindar, and they said कि हमको खेती के लिए जमीन दे दो, हम खेती करेंगे. And they are doing this kheti, and they have earned a good money, and they are going to stay back. And I did that story, and that story won me the Ladli Media Award.
Okay, so that.
So that is what I'm saying. This example.
I asked that question was, because generally, what as a layman, what we understand about this thing, writing about societal and developmental concern is that media as an industry, we understand that we live in a country which is politically very sensitive. So writing about such issues may sometimes, I don't know. I mean, that is why I asked you this question. Is
Backlash हो सकता है.
yes. So, is there really a
Yeah, there are some chances. Yeah, there are some chances, like, when you're writing about these things. So obviously the political masters may not like it.
exactly?
And the political masters may not like it. They might pull strings from some way, that way, and they may, may be detrimental for you, detrimental for the organization you're working for. But you have to be very cautious what you are writing, and it holds good for.
Cautious, you mean to say you have to be tactful.
You have to be tactful. You have to be very confirmed, very positive about the information you are writing. You double check your information. Like, where problem. I can give an example. Problem could arise when you say that, unemployment ratio has gone up, or, for particular reason, unemployment ratio has gone, or any issue. And government is saying, नहीं, हम तो बहुत काम दे रहे हैं भाई. आप जो लिख रहे हैं वो तो गलत है. No, you have to back it up
With a lot of logical evidence.
with the logical and the government figures itself.
Yes.
I mean, your sources should be
Credible.
that credible. And if you say now, yes, Niti Aayog report is saying कि particular state में unemployment इतना बढ़ गया है, और particular phase में इतना बढ़ गया है, CMI report के, तो obviously, you have saved your back. You have saved your back. So you have to be very cautious, very sensitive, and very pakka about the information you are having.
Which implies that you need to research very well.
Research very well. Yeah. Research very well. Absolutely. You have to. And that's why, other thing is, any editor will want to have good reports. Not only the political reports, he will also want to have, bouquet of reports in his daily newspaper. That may be political, that may be social, that may be money, that may be, anything, sports, anything. So, उसके लिए आपके पास यदि social and development issues पे reports हैं अच्छी, they would be more readable. That is what my experience like, and more acceptable, and even that can take you to places.
Yeah, provided you are writing based on facts and everything.
Every writing, the word you write, anything, maybe it's a political report, maybe anything, maybe in fact even accident. If an accident takes place at the road, and you have to be very cautious, very particular about कि accident हुआ, किसका हुआ, age, कहाँ पे हुआ, क्या नहीं था. अमूमन आप देखिएगा कि
people tend to get very subjective about it. They get into an emotional mode while writing. If you ask somebody in general, so they have a very emotional approach.
इसीलिए तो desk होता है. That's what I said ना, कि newspaper के दो aspects हैं. One is the reporter. When reporter writes, he becomes very emotional. Writing something about it's very emotional. And the desk is, he cuts off that emotion, brings
it very objective.
When I was there's very interesting example, what my first editor taught me. When I was on desk, so I was editing a thing. He called me. He was DC Mishra Sahab. तो उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा, तुम मटन खाते हो? मैंने कहा, सर खाता हूँ. कहते खरीदे हो कभी? मैंने कहा, सर खरीदा भी हूँ. कहते तुम जब जाते हो, वो खरीदते हो, तो वो क्या करता है? मैंने कहा, तोल के दे देता है. लेकिन तोलने के बाद क्या करता है? मैंने कहा, मटन साफ करता है वो. कहते क्या निकालता? हमने चर्बी और वो सब कूड़ा कचरा निकालता है. कि तुम्हारा काम भी वही है. कि यू हैव टू गेट द मीट ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन. वो तुम्हें मीट देता है. वो मीट ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन यू हैव टू टेक आउट, एंड देन यू हैव टू कट आउट ऑल द इमोशन जो रिपोर्टर ने डाले होंगे या एडजेक्टिव्स डाले होंगे. व्हेन a reporter starts writing a news, he adds many adjectives with a belief कि मैं ज्यादा adjective डाल दूंगा तो ये ज़्यादा अच्छी रिपोर्ट
नहीं
बनी।
अच्छा एक और चीज है that we have those natural biases also, you know, and then like let's say if a reporter witnesses such kind of incident, the witness like witnessing that incident that might get influenced by his or her own experiences of life sometimes, and which is why these biases come up, and I think as an editor that's what you try to
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, like this example you are saying, like you know, accident का example ले लें. अब एक्सीडेंट हुआ, रिपोर्टर पहुंचा और वहां पे लोगों की चीख पुकार या एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ और अ लेडी इज क्राइंग और शी इज एक्सप्लेनिंग समथिंग, तो आपका जो राइटिंग था दैट में गेट यू नो दैट emotional aspect.
Exactly, and I think for business, this emotional appeal of persuasion will
Never work.
Have to be work on logic, right on the basis of logic.
Absolutely, you have to be logic, you have to fact, and वो जो मिश्रा साहब ने कहा था, you have to get the meat out of it. यदि वो meat आपके पास आ गया, तो your story is very good. Otherwise, you know, एक perception और होता है जर्नलिज्म में कि आप बड़ी बड़ी खबरें 700-800 वर्ड नहीं, छोटी खबर pointed,
yeah,
300-400 words, that is enough, and that is pointed, that explains everything, that is the best.
Exactly. Then this reminds me of one of my professors when we used to study. One of my professors used to see that brevity is the soul of wit. No, so if you write in a concise manner, try to express in a very concise manner, it's exactly like collecting an ocean in a pot. Gagar mein sagar bharna, but it's not that easy.
It is not.
Everybody has that skill of doing so.
It is not that easy. You have to develop it. That's why, you know, we teach a person when he comes. Like आज के उसमें की डिग्री विग्री लेकर आ गए, पुराने जमाने में हम लिखना देखते थे कितना किसको लिखना आता है. So based on skill, and उसके बाद आप उसको जज करते थे. If a person is proficient in writing, he knows how to write, so it's easy to, you know, mold him. अब यदि किसी को सिखाने ही बैठ जाओ कि लिखना कैसे है, that is very
and this is quite prevalent these days. If you see students coming out after completing their courses and you give them a script to write, they'll not be able to write. I have myself seen many cases like that.
Absolutely. वो इंटर्नशिप के लिए कुछ बच्चे आते थे हमारे अखबार में और वो they used to, you know, कि हम यहाँ से आए हैं, वहाँ से आए हैं, अलाना है, फलाना आए हैं, और उनको जब हम लोग कहते थे करो, they were not able to put A to A or 2 plus 2, they are not able to do it. But they can communicate in English, बात कर लेंगे, but writing is not there. But this is natural and sometimes you develop it, वो experience के साथ साथ.
Yes. So I have quick 2 questions because we are also running short on time. A very important thing which I figured out while you were talking about your experiences, that you started reading newspapers at a very early age. As a professor of communication, I feel that this is the biggest challenge for students these days, you know, getting them to this habit of reading newspapers daily. How did you develop, or anything that you would like to convey to the students as to how they can develop this habit? Because people run away as soon as you say read newspapers. Not everybody likes to read newspapers.
You know, in my times, we used to get newspapers every day. Now, still, I think every house gets newspaper, and it was a passion to read newspaper. My father used to give me कि अखबार आया, whatever you want to read. So I never read the page 1. I used to write the last page, the sports page.
Because you were interested in sports.
I was interested in sports. I used to read sports page. But today, modern era, I have seen, you know, the young kids, they don't read newspapers. They say we have all the information, or WhatsApp type.
They have plenty of information.
But you know,
ask them, they're not aware.
They're not. They can't hold on to any conversation that long, you know, because, you know, that information is very small. I won't say biased, but information is very small. Then you have the today's newspapers. They have the digital editions and, you know, online editions. If something happens, immediately they flash it. But that information is, say, 100 words, 200 words. If something big happens, they don't have, you know, that detailed information. So what I suggest is the responsibility of parents to ensure कि बच्चा अखबार पढ़े, अखबार नहीं तो जो उसे पसंद है पढ़े. हाँ, कई बार हम फोर्स करते हैं बच्चों को कि नहीं यही पढ़ो वो पढ़ो, नहीं, जो आपको पंचतंत्र पढ़ना पसंद है पढ़े, कॉमिक्स ऑल्दो हम लोगों के ज़माने में दे वो वेरी चंपक वंपक नंदन वंदन आता था, टिन आता था, पर आजकल तो वो कॉमिक्स भी इतनी क्वालिटी कॉमिक्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं। हाँ, तो अब जो भी उसको पढ़ने को अच्छा लगता है.
So I think interest, say they can start with
Interest, and that interest has to be created by parents. अब आज का बच्चा, वो कहते हैं बच्चे बदल गए, पर आज का बच्चा भी तो दादी माँ की कहानी सुनता है. आप टीवी के पास बिठा दीजिए, वो सब वो कार्टून नेटवर्क देखता है और उसी तरह की भाषा बोलता है.
No, they do enjoy it.
They enjoy. I mean, you have to create that level of enjoyment. I mean, that environment. So the first role starts with the parents. और इसके लिए जरूरी है कि पेरेंट्स अपने आप भी न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ें.
हाँ, so वो कहते हैं कि बहुत सारी चीजें वो देख के सीखते हैं.
अमूमन क्या होता है कि पेरेंट्स अपने आप न्यूज़पेपर नहीं पढ़ते हैं, आता है यूं ही पढ़, और इफ दे फाइंड इट समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग, आप देख रहे हैं कि बच्चा नहीं पढ़ रहा है, कुछ नहीं है, इफ दे फाइंड समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग, जस्ट मार्क इट कि बेटा ये पढ़ना बड़ा अच्छा है. फिर शाम को तूने पढ़ा था, तो that way, you know, push him into the reading of habit of reading. You have to push him the habit of reading unless you do it. क्योंकि देखिए, आदमी जो रीड करेगा वही आगे जाके वो लिख पाएगा. Exactly. If you don't read, you can't write. Exactly. So that is I think the इसका पूरा responsibility is on the parents. They have to do it. They have to take up the cudgel. They have to promote their children to read and write, and they themselves have to create an atmosphere जहाँ पे कि वो लोग इसे अपने आप पढ़ते हैं.
So there are two things very important that I think the parents have the responsibility of creating that environment in the house for which they themselves need to read, and then the students have to start with their passion, so they can start with interest areas in the newspaper. So that's wonderful. I'm sure it's going to be very insightful for the students also. So thank you, Mr. Banerjee. It was such an insightful interaction, and I'm confident that my students are going to learn from your experiences. And thank you.
Thank you, Abhaji. The pleasure was mine. I loved it, and hope so that students will learn something, and they will excel in their life also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.